right, guys, hope you have a good Friday. Just remember before you, while you're watching this, I hope you've already done this before, is to do the attendance check-in today by noon so I can get you marked as here, okay? But this one here to be week 4, day 3. We're gonna call this to the West we go. Okay, in class, we've been talking about manifest destiny and kind of how the United States is gonna start working their way west. These slides here are gonna talk about a lot of stuff that we're gonna do to help get us towards moving west. First picture here, we got just some of the land we're going to gain in this time period. You see the Texas annexation, 1845, Mexican cession, 1848, and the Oregon Territory in the 1840s as well. All this land is going to be gained either through war or through treaties. Okay, and then one of the battles during the Texas annexation, remember the Alamo, very famous battle, just kind of this depiction here on the side. Okay. So first slide here, we're going to talk about the Trail of Tears in 1830. Okay, this starts when gold is actually found in Georgia in 1830. Yes, believe it or not, there was gold in the mountains in Georgia in this area right here, kind of looking where the Cherokee are. Okay, and because of this, Native Americans are going to be moved with what's called the Indian Removal Act of 1830. It's actually passes only by 1 vote, so this is a very split decision. It wasn't an all-out yes, let's move everyone. There's very undecided on whether or not to do this. And Andrew Jackson is going to take a major blame because he is the president at the time, and he will forcefully remove Native Americans from the Southeast. The most notable group moved was going to be the Cherokee. The Cherokee are the most notable group just because the Cherokee will have done more than any other Native American tribe to try to become actually part of American society. They'll speak English. They'll actually work on plantations. In some instances, Cherokee will actually own slaves. So they're going to do a lot to try to become American, but just because they're Native American, they are going to be kicked out and moved towards the west. Okay, and this map, again, you see these green areas, you're going to see the famous groups that are moved: Seminole, Creek, Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Choctaw. And the biggest thing, during this move, you're going to have 25% will die from starvation, exhaustion, disease, cold. The best way you can try to think about that is, imagine if your mother or grandmother, or maybe even great-grandmother, someone's in the 60s, 70s, and 80 years old, and you're basically going to force them to walk 800 to 1,000 miles to areas west of the Mississippi. Could they do it? That's what you have to think about. You have a lot of people, elderly people, being forced to make a march. That's going to be very difficult, and if they refuse to march, they're just going to kill them. Okay? And they're going to be moved to areas west of the Mississippi River. Okay, right here in this area, here's your Mississippi, sorry, right in this area. And then we moved into areas considered Oklahoma for the most part, okay? And this is gonna be a really dark stain in our history because, we don't treat these Native Americans very fairly, plain and simple. Okay, we treat them very poorly in this situation, all right? Next one here, talk about the Texas annexation of 1836. This begins when Mexico gains independence from Spain in 1821. Remember, Mexico is going to be inspired to gain independence in 1821 because of the Declaration of Independence, American Revolution. After Mexico beats Spain, they're going to actually start inviting Americans to live in Texas because there's not a lot of people living there. They're going to invite some settlers to come in and try to populate the area. However, very soon, U.S. settlers will outnumber Mexican settlers, and the U.S. settlers are going to want independence. They're going to see themselves not as part of Mexico, but as part of their own country or part of the United States. A small war will break out. Texas will win. A very famous battle is the Battle of the Alamo. Okay, you have the Mexican general right here, this General Antonio Santa Anna, and then also you're going to have General Sam Houston. You recognize the last name. It's not a coincidence. Houston, Texas is named after him. The biggest thing after the war, besides gaining the land, is that there's going to be a debate over Texas becoming a state. We talk about the Missouri Compromise and trying to maintain a balance between free and enslaved states. The issue with Texas is that Texas was such a large state, Northerners were worried about not it becoming just one slave state, but becoming several slave states and being broken into a bunch of states. Because again, Texas to this day is one of our largest states and could easily be broken into different states. And that would be a debate, and that's why Texas does not become a state sooner, is because of that debate. But by 1845, Texas will be added to the United States and obviously be that Lone Star state, and still to this day one of our biggest states in the country. Right. Then moving on, very soon after 1845, we're going to have a dispute over Oregon in 1846, We can see right here, this is the Oregon Country, that Oregon Trail game that we tried to play. We had some issues, but the idea that you come in on the Oregon Trail into Oregon, you'd settle. Okay, United States, we just claim this area in the pink, but the area in the green, both us and England will claim. So you have this dispute right here over where the border should be and who should own what. Okay, and this is going to be between us and England or Britain, same country. The U.S. threatens if the border was not established at the 5440 parallel, we were going to go to war. That's where the slogan 5440 or fight. So this line right here, this kind of straight line, this is the 5440 line. This is where we wanted the border. However, cooler heads prevail in this situation, and we end up signing a treaty instead of going to war, which establishes the 49th parallel, which is this line right here, this dark red line. That's that red line that runs the whole entire northern border of our country after the Great Lakes. So you're talking like Wisconsin, Minnesota area and down through the west. This is the border. Okay, that straight line, 49th parallel. Put this picture here, kind of showing the Oregon Trail, the wagons. They'd often have a wagon train, a bunch of wagons together for safety. And at night, they'd round them up here, create a circle to try to protect themselves from Native American attacks. And that was just one way people go on the Oregon Trail. Okay. Next one here, talk about the war with Mexico. This is going to occur in 1846, between 1846 and 1848. It doesn't really last 3 years. It's not that long. It's actually a shorter war. However, this war is going to start when U.S. troops moved into disputed territory. So on our map here, if you're looking, this kind of shade of blue and yellow, you have disputed land here. Mexico and the United States claim it, kind of like, us and England. However, unlike us and England, when we claim that land, it ends peacefully, this does not end peacefully. What will happen is, U.S. troops are going to move from Texas into this disputed land by the authorization by James K. Polk. He's the president. When they move into this disputed land, Mexico will then counter that and move into the same land, and there's going to be a small skirmish that breaks out. U.S. soldiers and Mexican soldiers are going to be killed on both sides, and the story that gets reported to the newspapers is that U.S. soldiers were killed on, quote, U.S. soil. We're talking this disputed land. Realistically, it wasn't U.S. soil, but it was disputed land. However, we sell it to the public that it was on U.S. soil. Because of this, think if someone came into America today, like in say, Alabama from Russia, the Russian military came in Alabama and started killing Americans, we wouldn't stand for it. We go to war right away. Okay? Because of this dispute, a war will break out. The war is pretty much, and not trying to be mean to Mexico, but it's going to be pretty much a series of U.S. victories. The war will not go well for Mexico. We'll actually get to the point where we're going to have our military in Mexico City forced them to sign a treaty to end the war. Okay? And because of this, the Treaty of Guadalupe and Hidalgo will be passed. We will get areas in the Southwest, this big blue block of land, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Nevada area we're going to gain. We'll also set the border at the Rio Grande River, this river right here. Okay, the southern border of Texas is the Rio Grande River. That's where the border is today. That will be permanently established as the border between our two countries. And for all this kind of a give back to Mexico, we will give them money. Now, I will question why we give them money. I'm not really sure. Considering the fact we were in their capital in Mexico City forcing this treaty to be signed, it doesn't seem like kind of reason why would give them money. The only thing I could assume, and this is an assumption, this isn't proven, is that there is something in California that we really want, gold, and we want to get to it, so we're willing to give up some money to actually get control of this land a lot quicker. Okay, gold is found in California literally within 6 months after the war, and that will take us to our next slide here. Okay. Last slide, the result of the War with Mexico in 1846, 1848 is going to be gaining of California, and it's going to be found in Sutter Mill, which is outside of Sacramento in this area right here. Okay, thousands will rush to California within months. Literally, thousands of people are going to rush to California. You imagine right now if I said you can go into Mississippi and there's gold to be found and you can claim land and go mine gold and become rich. A lot of people will take that opportunity if they don't really have much. Even if they do have much, people like the risk, they like the excitement, they like the adventure, they're going to head out there. Okay, these people that move to this area are called 49ers because it happens in 1849. All these people are moving, so they get the nickname the 49ers. That's why I have this San Francisco 49ers emblem up here, is because this logo and the team name comes about because of the gold rush. You see this little gold outline of the San Francisco name. That goes back to the gold rush in that time period, and the crimson red can actually be compared to the blood that will be shed over this land, because there's going to be a lot of infighting between people who are claiming land in this area, in the Sierra Nevada. So you can see in this area the gold mining region, and then that you have this orange area, the mother lode, basically where large amounts of gold were found and most people wanted to be at. Okay, price of goods because of this will skyrocket. You're going to have goods like a shovel that might have been 50 cents will start costing $10. Breakfast is going to be, upwards of $5 or $10, and that's back then money. Think about today. We can get breakfast for under $5 today, but back then, because of the high demand for everything, prices will go up really quickly. Okay, and because of all these people moving here so quickly, you're going to have California become a state within a year. Okay, one of the quickest states to get the quickest territories to form and become a state, all within a year. Hey, our picture right here showing, example of a mining town that develops in that time period so quickly. They're building them so quickly that a lot of the buildings actually fall down after a while because they didn't put a lot of time into it. The idea was just get a building up as quick as possible. You can actually go visit some old mining towns in the West, abandoned mining towns. I know there's, like, if you're a TikTok person, there's a guy on TikTok who actually purchased a whole entire mining town, and he goes around exploring it throughout the time on that TikTok. But that's it for this section. If you have any questions, just let me know. And I hope you enjoy your day.